With the amount of changes that we're seeing in some games running on Switch 2, I thought it would be nice to have a little series where we highlight the games that are now running at 60 frames per second. Hopefully this will save you some time, because it does take a while to go through and test all of this, and there are some games that target 60 but don't quite make it.
Lovely, so without further ado then, which Switch 1 games run at 60 on the Switch 2? Well, let's find out.
This episode was sponsored by Marvel Strike Force. As with any promo, you'll find links in the description and the top pinned comment, and this one will give you a bunch of free character giveaways in the month of June if you use promo code Bucky. I'll tell you more about it at the end. I always like to try these things out, see if it's something that I would genuinely play, and this turn-based RPG is great for those moments where, well, like I was yesterday, you got a bit of time on your hands and you can just pick up and play. Marvel Strike Force is a free mobile squad-based RPG that allows you to battle your favourite team of superheroes. You get to create both heroes and villains. My favourite hero has to be Spider-Man. He's one of those reluctant heroes, isn't he? You can definitely relate to him. New ways to battle with your roster are released quite often, with the meta constantly evolving. Along with campaigns, Blitz and Arena, there's also Alliance War, which is essentially a massive weekly battle. You can join forces with friends or other players online to compete in raids, participate in those wars and obviously earn rewards. It's all about synergy and team composition. And there are some free character giveaways in June. New characters are constantly being released, and this month, to celebrate Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, Marvel Strike Force is giving away 5 powerful characters for free. For a limited time, use promo code Bucky to unlock Red Guardian, Yelena Belova, Ghost, Winter Soldier and Taskmaster. Don't miss this exclusive SwitchUp promo code. You can redeem your squad for free today. There'll be links in the description and the top pinned comment. A big thanks to Marvel Strike Force for sponsoring this episode, and hopefully to you guys for checking it out. So let's kick off then with the Zelda, one of your favourites, the top-down ones. Well, both of them. Which one do you want to go with?
Well, let's start with Link's Awakening. I think it's only fair to say actually that these first couple received a dedicated patch, one of the free upgrades. So you would expect them to run at 60, but thankfully they now do. So Link's Awakening is, as you said, is one of my favourite games of all time, going all the way back to the Game Boy original. And on the Switch, I did love it just as much, but it did have some issues. There were moments where you had some significant drops in terms of your frame rate when you were going through the fields, you know, cutting down the grass, or particular areas like swamps where it would start to really drop. And on the Switch 2, that's just not an issue anymore at all. It's so nice to play it with that lovely smooth 60.
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect, isn't it now? I think it's fair to say. I don't think we saw any drops. Better load times as well is a nice addition, but if you're looking to play this one, 60 is the way, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And that moves us on to the other Zelda game of a similar vein, and that's Echoes of Wisdom, isn't it? Which is a kind of a pseudo-sequel to this one, certainly in terms of art style at least anyway. And this was another one that had some issues. Certain areas it just really started to drop down. You didn't even have to necessarily be doing anything specific as you did in Link's Awakening. Just walking around, you'd start to notice those drops. And thankfully, again, this one now runs at a nice flawless 60, so you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Next up, we've got Mortal Kombat 1. Now, this one almost became a meme at one point, didn't it? Where you're Johnny Cage with his bulbous eyes and his like ridiculous bloated head. Might even be on this thumbnail, to be honest. But when we came back to test it on Switch 2, we were pleasantly surprised to see how good performance is now.
Yes, now this hasn't had a dedicated patch. This is just a case of putting a Switch 1 game into the Switch 2. So whilst resolution and some other bits have received a natural upgrade, if you like, probably not the best word, boost is probably a better word. It's the frame rate that we're talking about, of course. And on the Switch 1, it did aim for 60 and it did hit 60 a fair whack at a time, but it was kind of a 55 to 60 for the most part, and now you're getting that consistent 60, which in a fighting game is exactly what you want.
Absolutely, it's much better. Things like loading times as well, so much improved. Just a more enjoyable way of playing it.
Yeah, it would be nice to get a dedicated patch for this one to fix some of the graphical issues. It does look better, don't get me wrong, but there's only so much that can happen with a brute force upgrade, isn't there really?
Now, we have covered every single, well, I think Resident Evil game, the more modern ones, the 3D ones?
Most of them, yeah. We've done, well, we'll tell you now, we haven't done 4, which is one we might well look at, and we haven't done the more traditional top-down fixed camera perspective ones.
So the ones we've done 5 and 6.
Yep.
Both run at a flawless 60 frames per second. Worth checking out, although you may see a couple of minor frame pacing issues. I think it's generally fair to say they're 99% locked out.
Yep, and if you're comparing to the Switch 1, I believe they were running at anywhere from 45.
Yeah.
You know, aiming for 60, but yeah, nice locked out 60 on both of those games this time round.
And you've got Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 again, same story, 60 frames per second across the board, whether you're doing split screen or you're playing solo.
You're solo in it, exactly.
Penny's Big Breakaway is a good one because that basically received a patch on Switch 1 post-launch that got it closer to 60 frames per second, but it did this weird thing where it would be 60 and then it would drop all the way back down to 30, and it was kind of seesaw like that. Now that's no longer the case, it's just flawless on Switch 2. So if you've been considering that one, and I do think it's an underrated platformer, it's a really good way of playing it over there. It wouldn't be right not to mention Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This one, as we know, was just a sorry state when it launched. It was a real mess. There is an upgrade on the Switch 2, so it is like an upgrade path that improves both the visual quality, but mainly that performance. It's very smooth now, even in some of the more tricky to run areas like around the lake, the tops of mountains. The density of Pokemon has increased. The frame rate culling for things like distant animations has been reduced right down, so that it's actually smooth now when you're moving around the city and things. Let's be real, it's not a pretty game still.
No, absolutely right. The difference between this and some of these is that this was a dedicated patch. This was one of those free upgrades, as you said, along with the 2 Zeldas. And the difference that makes is that it's not just about what the extra power can do to a game. Almost like flogging a dead horse in some respects, isn't it? This one, they've actually fixed certain issues. So as well as the frame rate, as you said, things like the pop-in and the animation culling is so much better now, as it should be with a dedicated patch.
Then we've got No Kuni II. I think this was a big surprise for me because I played through this for review, 30 hours into the game, and you're thinking, well, there's these really nice elements to the experience, but they just don't run right. Things like the top-down strategies. The combat was okay, but yeah, now it's a different scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So as you say, on the Switch 1, you had issues with the top-down map, and obviously the combat itself, where that frame rate was just struggling to maintain, whereas now playing on the Switch 2, it's a nice solid 60 frames per second, which again just makes a big difference, because obviously this is an action RPG, not turn-based, where perhaps it wouldn't have been as big an issue.
So those are some games that now run pretty flawlessly at 60 frames per second. If you're able to help us out, let us know down in the comments ones that you've tested that run at 60 frames per second. And the general purpose of this video is to try and help the community, save them a bit of time. And yeah, thank you to the people that have been helping with the Excel spreadsheet to populate that. That's been really handy. Ping us an email at info@switchupgaming.com if you want to contribute towards that. And some of your ideas will probably end up in the next episode.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of doing this is that obviously at the minute, whereas there have been some Switch 2 games, but let's be honest, a lot of them aren't actually physical games. Games, they're these game keycard things. So some people may be turning to Switch 1 games to play on their Switch 2, and they're relatively cheap at the minute in shops. So if we can find some that are well worth playing now and highlight them, then it'll do everyone a favour,
Absolutely. I saw so many comments that were exactly that. Someone was like, I've just spent 200 quid on games just from these videos.
Exactly.
As always, if you want to save yourself any bunts, use there's no code, go to switchup.gg to buy your eShop credit and you'll get 5% in cash back for your next purchase.
Thank you to our patrons and our channel members for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.